Hello, welcome to Nina Sheila TV. My name is Nina. This is our one-on-one interview session. Let's talk with Nina. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share. Also hit the bell notification so whenever we upload, you'll be the first to get notified. I have with me here a very talented man, Tiae. He is the host of the No Stand Zone podcast. You can find it on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Welcome to the show, Tiae.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So today we'll be talking about music and the music industry. The music industry keeps evolving, driven by technological advancements and changes in listener preferences. So despite the shift, it remains timeless. With the popularity of social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, what impact do you think social media has on the music industry?
I mean, it has. I will go further than you have, even you mentioning that it has made it important. It's actually like the foundation of I would say it's the life of the music industry today.
Yeah.
The growth of the music industry in the past 10, maybe 15 years, the growth of the industry has been highly impacted by the growth of social media as well. Social media, as we know it, started 2008, 2009, started to grow with Instagram, Facebook. And what social media did was connected the diaspora with the people who are actually on the continent in Africa.
Okay.
Now, what happened is, another thing that happened is the diaspora, the fans of the music in the diaspora, you have them, most of them young, or most of them just getting into college or just out of college. That delicate demographic that you need to be interested in the music. When social media came, it gave that audience a lot of power. Now, they had money. They could spend in pounds, they could spend in dollars, they could spend in euros as well. And they were investing a lot in the African artists. Let me, an example, someone like Wizkid, or Davido, one of the biggest artists at the time, two of the biggest artists at the time that social media, kind of became a thing, and everyone kind of has a phone, has access to internet. These two artists actually benefited, I would say, sort of like at the beginning, they benefited a lot because you have all these guys in the diaspora who now are connected to what is happening on the continent or in the country of Nigeria, who are able to buy the music.
Okay.
Now, our artists are able to go to places like the UK and other countries in Europe. And then there are folks who are who can actually buy their shows.
So in other words, they're able to reach a global audience.
A global audience. And all of this is not possible without social media. And you have to understand that at that time as well, and it still is, unfortunately, the currency in Nigeria and the situation of things in Nigeria just kind of limits how much impact those in Nigeria. I'm sure that the people who are working with these artists, they have to figure that out. And that's where, even as easy as it is to get into the music industry today, literally you can be in your own room with a camera, whatever, you have on your computer, come up with a song. It's still going to be extremely difficult it takes a lot of work, strategy, like you say, to get to the point where you can actually make money from the business, which touring comes into that. And for those who are doing it even already, even big artists, some of them in the US are canceling shows because it's not easy. How many artists, like you're hitting the same demographic of people to a certain age. How many shows are they going to pay for? And the economy around the world since the pandemic has been not the best as well. So people don't have as much money. So it goes back to extra strategizing to find like more deep thinking, more trial and error until you figure out how it's going to work for you. Most people, the biggest artists are just in the 0.1%, who are, whatever happens, they will eat forever from touring. Folks like Burna Boy, speaking about Nigerian music, are in that category already. The Wizkid, the Davido. Not everybody's like them. So if you're coming up as an artist, And your team as well has to do a lot of thinking from the onset, because that's the future.
Okay. So talking about Burna Boy and the likes of Davido, Rema, and Wizkid,
well, yes.
they are really making waves with the Afrobeat music. Do you think these artists have contributed to the global popularity of Afrobeats?
Yes. I mean, in fact, I will even go deeper than that. They've made the Black identity something to be proud of. At the beginning, I think maybe 2 years ago, I was having a conversation similar to this with someone on Twitter Spaces, or what is called X now, like 3 years ago. And one of the things people mention is that now, especially for those who are in the UK, who are among people in other, from other races, there's usually that thing where they look down on Black people, like you guys have not contributed anything that we see today, and there is nothing to be proud of. But folks like Wizkid, that music, that Afrobeat has kind of put Africans on the map now, where people want to be associated with it. If you go to any of the Rema shows, Burna Boy shows, there are a lot of white people there.
Yeah.
And I can tell you a lot of white people there who are invested, people from other races as well, who are drawing close, who want to be part of that, the next cool thing. Like Rema sold out a place in India.
Yes.
That tells you, yeah. So like that has really contributed to a lot of just pride in being Black, in being African, in being Nigerian. In fact, I think this will still be talked about. What has happened in the past 10, 20 years, 10, 15 years, outside of just the music, but what it has meant for Black people generally in other parts of the world, even in America as well, what it has meant personally to see that our artists are out there doing something cool that everybody wants to be associated with. It's going to be interesting to see how this is written about and the research around it is going to be interesting. The growth of Afrobeat has been way more than just the music. It's giving Africans pride, everywhere. And there was since a long time ago, people look, Africa, what is there? All of a sudden, there was a picture recently of a lot of people moving, with Ghanaian citizenship.
Yes.
Now that might be other things, but I deep in my heart, I believe that the growth of the music has contributed to a lot of people looking at Africa, not just as one place to do hot sun, but shining a light when you see people like Burna Boy, Davido, Rema driving exotic cars with big chains, expensive chains that Americans are wearing. You can look and say, Africa is hot sun and animals running everywhere, right? So.
Okay. So do you think it's the Afrobeat music is evolving, or a lot of work still needs to be done?
Music will always evolve. It's like technology. The music, we talk about Wizkid, who just released an album yesterday being November 22nd. He just released an album yesterday, and I've been thinking a lot about it. And it's got me going back to 2011 when I first heard his first album and what Wizkid is today. I mean, a lot has happened. Like, it is transformed. The music when Wizkid started is not the music today, right?
Yeah.
Talking about how the music has evolved. The music evolved, and then we have someone like Asake as well.
Yeah.
Who his kind of music wasn't the mainstream, sort of, when Wizkid released his first album, right?
Yeah.
But that Asake sound and mixing Amapiano and Afrobeats together is what is kind of like one of the like mainstream sounds today. So yes, it's going to evolve to something else. I think this decade, in fact, that's where kind of like, let me share that with you, because I was going to talk about that on my pod maybe at the beginning of the year. We're entering a very delicate decade now, 2025 to 2035. The music is going to evolve at some point within that time. All the artists we're seeing today, 80% of them are not going to be here at the end of the decade. It's just kind of like the way it is, right? Like you said, it evolves. So we're entering a very interesting decade, and it's going to evolve as well as we go.
Okay. So that brings me to our next question. Even with their music, do you think they are adequately addressing social and political issues that we have?
Nina. I mean, people like Burna Boy have released music that have sort of spoken to those kind of things. And the thing is, even from the beginning of time, especially with Nigerian music, our music has always spoken to issues that are going on. Country R&B in Nigeria also put himself on the streets as well. So, I mean, it's not as much as it used to be. And we can say they can do better, but at the same time, a part of me is like, do I really want to hold them to that standard? Do I want to put that on their shoulders? Because a lot of people don't want to, and you cannot force them. It's such a thing that it has to come from the heart, right? The artist has to want to do it. It's not something you can force on them, right? So, I mean, we can comment. I mean, there are few artists who are doing it. All I can say is like they have a big platform and they can make change, right? So we can only hope that more of them get into it, and whichever way they can. It could be monetary to support the movement. It could be them speaking out about it. There are different ways to do it, but I mean, no one I think would be able to do it like Fela did, who put his family in the way as well, suffered for that. I mean, nobody's gonna expect that from anybody to, it's not like expect, but nobody's going to say, oh, all of you must put your life and your family's lives on the line for this cause, right? But at the same time, you want to say the listeners, your fans, have put a lot of hope in you, like invested a lot in you, in your music. When something goes wrong or when you see things are not going right, one of the ways you can give back to them is use the power they've given you to also speak to, some of the injustices we see. It can be better for sure.
Yeah, it can be.
It can. There's a lot of money involved today. Yeah, but definitely it can get better.
Yeah. Okay. This has been a very interesting discussion we've had. So I want to say thank you so much.
No, you're welcome.
Do you have any last words for artists out there?
Funny you mentioned that. Last week, one of where my mind was as kind of my advice for new artists.
Okay.
And it was something I spoke about the last episode, which you guys can go check out, by the way. And it was my advice for new artists. You have to get involved in production. It's something, if you're just starting today, there's so much you can say for established artists. But if you're an artist listening to this today and you're just about to start or you're at the beginning of your career, try and learn production, how to produce yourself. Yeah. One, you're going to save yourself a lot of money. Two, when you eventually get it right, like you're good at it, when you speak to people and you tell them you're a producer and an artist as well, it changes how people look at you.
Exactly.
They give you there's a little bit more respect as well given to you. You can also make more money from there as well. When you're not producing for yourself or releasing music, you can be producing for other artists as well. I mean, Thames today, who is one of the biggest Nigerian artists we have out there, she's a producer. That's how I think she connected with Wizkid on some level a few years ago. But she's also an artist as well. So you give yourself more range to succeed as well. So that's my advice. If you're a new artist out there about to start, there are YouTube channels on how to learn production. Learn production, I would say.
Okay.
And also listen to this whole video over and over again. We've spoken about things that are very important to you as well. Talking about new touring. If you're a new artist, streaming is not the way. Touring has to be where you're thinking about, and that should guide your actions today. So, I mean, watch this video several times. I'm sure you catch some gems here and there.
Yeah. Thank you so very much, Tiae. And thank you so much for joining us. Stay tuned for another interesting episode. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Also hit the bell notification so whenever we upload, you'll be the first to get notified. Have a very blessed day. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.